national development. My guest is Senator Gershom Bassey, Senator representing Cross River South Senatorial District in the National Assembly. Once again, thanks for coming on the program.
Thank you, Oku.
Now, let's start by asking you, where are we in the whole process of the PIB? And just take us through the whole process of the bill.
Well, what we realized in the 8th Assembly when we came in was that the PIB, as you've just rightly stated, had been stuck in the National Assembly for quite some time. And we realized that there were about two issues. There were the issues that almost everybody agreed on, and then there were the few issues that people did not agree on. So the idea of the Senate leadership was that we should look at the focus on the issues that we all agree on and see if we could move on with that part of the legislation while we tackle the issues that were contentious later on. What we have now done and what we have agreed as a roadmap for the passage of the bill is to divide the jumbo legislation that was there originally in the original PIB into 4 parts. The first of those 4 parts is going to be the governance bill, which covers governance and the entire institutional framework in the industry. And we believe that that is, along with the fiscal and the community issues, those are the 3 most important issues in the PIB. Of course, the environmental issues are important as well. But we think that the first one that we should tackle head on is governance. And we believe that if we can get governance right, that we now set a tone for the passage of the remaining 3 parts of the PIB. So with your question about where we are, what we have done so far is that the Senate on its own has come up with a bill. This entire new PIB, I would call it, is an initiative of the Senate, particularly the Senate leadership. And what the Senate leadership has come up with is this Petroleum Industry Governance Bill, which has now gone through second reading. We've had the first reading, we've had the second reading with the debate, the attendant debate that goes with the second reading. And now we're going into the final stage, which is the third reading, and which we intend to have by the end of the first quarter of this year. And our hope is that that will then go through the Senate. If we get it right, we go through the Senate, and then we go to the House of Reps, and eventually to the President. And we think that that will now address a lot of the issues, the governance issues in the sector.
Now, a lot of people have been having concerns. Nigerians have had concerns. Why this long? Why has it taken the Senate or the National Assembly this long to pass this into law?
Well, I don't know what happened in the previous assemblies, but I know that in the 8th Assembly, we started this process about 5 or 6 months. Well, no, we started this process. It's been a few months now since we started this process, and it's moved quite smoothly. We have engaged all the stakeholders in the sector, both the executive. We've engaged everybody, all the players, and we've had a lot of talk, a lot of strategizing, a lot of engagement, and it is the result of this engagement that we are where we are today. And I must commend the leadership of the National Assembly, particularly the Senate President, for the direction and the leadership that he has given in this process.
Well, people may have concerns as well. I mean, it may be another talk shop, but over the years, we've had people come into the National Assembly representing Nigerians, and then they go back not passing the bill into law. What are really your assurances you're giving to Nigerians on this platform, saying that really you're going to make sure this becomes an act?
Well, this is different. We're serious, we're focused, and we're determined. We're definitely going to ensure that this governance bill, incidentally, it's not only the governance bill that is going to be passed in the first quarter. We intend that the other 3 parts of the bill will also get to first reading at least. So we're going to have the entire bill, all the moving parts of the bill will so we're working focused on passing the first part, the governance bill. We're equally beginning work on the other sectors on the other parts of the bill to ensure that particularly issues of community, especially the community issues, are properly addressed. So it's not just a talking shop. We're focused. We're determined to make it for the better. Look, we're in a recession, and we need all the investment we can get in this economy. So it's important that the key driver of our economy is properly positioned to ensure that the type of investments that ought to have come into that sector come into that sector.
Now, aside from the benefits inherent in the whole bill, as stated in our introduction in the program, what are the other benefits you think you want Nigerians to know about the bill?
Look, for the governance bill, the key benefit is capital inflows. If we get our governance structure right, then by some estimates we're losing $200 million every year in terms of investments into the sector, probably $250 million. And we need that money at this time. And the only thing the investors are saying is, look, get your act together. And so we need to get our act together to ensure that these types of capital inflows do not look. Oil is being found all over the place now. Ghana has oil, Angola has oil. Everybody has oil now. So we're no longer the beautiful bride that we used to be. But we need to make ourselves a beautiful bride. And the only way to do that is to ensure that our sector is properly focused and properly positioned to ensure that those capital inflows come in. Our comparative advantage is the size of our oil industry. It's attractive. Of course, the population, people like to live in Nigeria, provided we can get some of these, what they call the ease of doing business indices. We can get those things right. Once we can get those things right, a part of which is the reforms in the sector, you will see that we will become the beautiful bride again for, or what they call the preferred destination for inflows into the oil and gas sector.
Will this take care of some excesses and losses we lose annually in the oil and gas industry?
Yes, you see, when you position yourself right and you bring in best practices, international best practices, particularly in terms of private sector involvement, PPPs, private sector participation, and proper regulation, you find that a lot of these things just go away. If you take the telecom sector, for instance, you recall that when we had NITEL, losses were the order of the day. But as soon as you had reforms in that sector, in the telecom sector, losses corruption, all those things just disappeared overnight. You don't need to have people running around. You just need to reform the sector, and those things will take care of themselves.
Okay, let's take a look at issues people are asking. Has Nigeria come of age to handle policies in the Act to get it right in our oil and gas sector?
Yes, I don't see why not. I think as Nigerians, we are at the point where we want to do things right. We've seen that not doing things right has cost us plenty in this country, and so it's time to do things right. And I always tell people that, look, the advantages of doing things right far outweigh the advantages or the lack of advantages of doing things wrong. So why wouldn't you want to do things right? When you do things right, everybody benefits. Everybody benefits. Even those that think they're benefiting from doing things wrong probably benefit more from doing things right. So I think that yes, there's that political will. There's the determination to get it right this time.
Will this, if the PIB becomes a law, will it attract a lot of foreign investors in the oil and gas sector?
Yes, that's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
I said we're losing to over $200 million in terms of foreign direct investment into the oil and gas sector. Yeah. When last did we have a bid round for oil blocks, for instance? We've not had a bid round since probably 2006. That in itself is a problem, because how do you get capital inflows into your oil and gas sector when you don't even have something as basic as a bid round, which is what everybody has probably every year or every other year. So, and a lot of the reasons why we haven't had bid rounds is to do with the governance structure. So simple things like that, and not to talk of other other activities in the oil and gas sector. Once people know that they can put their money in and get their money out, then you find that the tendency is probably for you to have more money in than you are taking out. But what people want to know is that they need to know, businessmen need predictability. They need to be able to predict what's going to happen in 1 year. And they don't want to have disruptions. They don't want to have surprises. They want to have consistent predictability backed up by law, rooted in law. And that's what we're trying to provide in the PIB bill.
Now, how will this PIB also contribute in terms of employment of Nigerians in the sector? Will it boost employment?
Oh yes. I mean, if you invest $200 million in a sector, they need people, and they need Nigerians. And if you couple the PIB bill with the local content laws that we already have on our books, and the issues of enforcement of that law, which is another area that we're looking at in the Senate. We're currently reviewing the local content laws and looking at the level of enforcement. You will find that not only will Nigerians be employed, which is important, but Nigerians, I think even more importantly, will participate in the industry. What do I mean by participate? They will be the contractors. They will be the providers of services. They will even be the exploration and production people. So Nigerians will even participate more. In fact, it's probably the Nigerians that will go and borrow from abroad to invest in the industry. So all these things, all this activity, which will create enormous activity in the sector, is only being held back by the non-passage of the PIB bill.
Okay.
PIB, the governance bill, we're looking at the separation of roles and responsibilities and the creation of strong institutions.
Okay.
Take, for instance, the regulator. We're going to create a brand new regulator which will be all-encompassing and regulate every aspect of the industry, a strong regulator. That regulator will be independent it will be an independent regulator. So what you have now is a situation where there are overlapping roles. So you have under certain offices, you have conflicting roles. So the person, the regulator reports to him, the commercial areas report to him, and so on. So you have a lot of conflicting roles, which creates this lack of predictability. Because while you may have people who are efficient in some of these roles, sometimes you have people who are inefficient in these roles, and that can create problems in the area. So what we're trying to do is say, look, it is not dependent on the individual. This thing should be dependent on the institutions. That's what we're trying to say, and say, look, let the institutions stand alone. Let there be a regulator. Let there be a commercial entity, which is what the NNPC will become. Let there be an asset management entity. These are the building blocks of a strong, predictable sector. And let there be a minister who is responsible for oversighting